When I do these stories for you, the most satisfying headlines, at least for me, are the ones that go blankety blank just turned on Trump. And by blankety blank, I mean top-ranking Republicans. So consider this a satisfying story because I get to say Ted Cruz just turned on Donald Trump, and I have the bombshell breakdown for you next. Almost every political headline this week is about Trump's economic disaster. That is his promise to slap tariffs on everything that moves. Honestly, it's been a challenge to find a fresh angle, but my job just got easier because the bombastic Ted Cruz, who often bends to the knee for Trump, has some pointed comments. Comments that I will share with you in just a minute. But first, I want to share another opinion piece with you, one of public opinion. I love these reports by data analyst Harry Enton of CNN because they reflect the current pulse of the nation and provide historical context. And today he did not disappoint with a piece that drops its own bombshell with mentions of presidential plunge and historically unprecedented. Have a look.
A live look at U.S. stock futures, which are down fairly sharply today. This is on the news that China is going to impose 34% tariffs on U.S. goods. Retaliation right there. That is a trade war. This plunge that we've seen in the market since Donald Trump took office. In terms of presidential plunges, where does this rank?
Where does this rank? I mean, Donald Trump is like Thornton Mellon. I mean, S&P 500 drops of 5% or more at this point in a presidency. There are only two of them, right? There's Donald Trump, a 10% drop since he took office. The only one that matches it or exceeds it was George W. Bush back in 2001, a drop of 18%. This is it. This is the whole kit and caboodle since the S&P 500 was created as an index back in 1957. When you're one of two and we're talking about drops in the stock market,
All right. Well, what makes this presidential plunge different than all other presidential plunges, except for the fact that we recline at this plunge?
Exactly right. We're right on the eve of Passover, so why not go with that? Again, we're going to look at these drops of 5% plus. What is so different about this versus the Bush plunge? Remember, it was the dot-com bubble, right? That was happening before George W. Bush took office. What did Donald Trump inherit? He inherited a bull market from Joe Biden. Donald Trump is the only one to take a bull market and turn it into a bear market to such a degree that we're having a drop of 5% or more at this point. This is historically unprecedented. What Donald Trump, one man, it seems to me, has done to perhaps my favorite stock market index. Now the clear majority of Americans own stock in one way or another, right? Their 401ks, their Roth IRAs, etc. And so what we're talking about now is something that is hitting the clear majority of Americans. What happens on Wall Street doesn't stay on Wall Street. It does, in fact, go and affect Main Street. And what's affecting Main Street right now is a record plunge for a president, given that he inherited a bull market and he turned it into a bear.
Donald Trump's presidential plunge. I like that alliteration. So will the pontificating Ted Cruz pretend there's nothing to see here or push Trump under the bus?
Look, I think it is a mistake to assume that we will have high tariffs in perpetuity. I don't think that would be good economic policy. I am not a fan of tariffs. And the announcement yesterday, look, time is going to tell in the next month or two or three what happens. If the result of yesterday's announcement is a lot of our trading partners across the globe dramatically reduce the tariffs they charge on U.S. goods and services, and the consequence of that is the U.S. government dramatically cuts the tariffs that were announced yesterday, that would be a great outcome. That would be good for America. If the result is our trading partners jack up their tariffs and we have high tariffs everywhere, I think that is a bad outcome for America. Tariffs are a tax on consumers, and I'm not a fan of jacking up taxes on American consumers. So my hope is these tariffs are short-lived and they serve as leverage to lower tariffs across the globe.
But wait, there's more Republican fallout. The equally bombastic Senator John Kennedy also dropped a bombshell on Trump with a very colorful metaphor.
We're in uncharted waters. Tariffs are more art, in my opinion, than science. Tariffs are like whiskey. A little whiskey under the right circumstances can be refreshing. Too much whiskey under the wrong circumstances, and you end up drunk as a goat. We just don't know right now, but we'll know within the next 6 months. If it works, let's take a dozen. If it doesn't work, the president's going to have to recalibrate.
Now, when Republican senators speak out against Trump, I think there's some hidden math that needs to be applied. If they speak out calmly, that means that behind the scenes, the party is running around with its hair on fire. If they're expressing concern, that means they're feeling regret and helplessness. And if Kennedy is saying too much whiskey, that means he thinks Donald Trump is drunk with power and driving the party off a cliff. So what does all of this mean for the Republican Party and the rest of us? Well, when Trump's most loyal surrogates start peeling off, it's not just political drama. It's a flashing warning sign that his wrecking ball has done too much damage. Ted Cruz and John Kennedy don't say things like what you just heard unless they have grave concerns. And for the American people, this moment is bigger than GOP dysfunction. It's your grocery bill going up. It's higher prices on cars and appliances. It's trade jobs and related industries going away. And people are starting to ask who's going to fix this. And right now, not even Trump's own party can pretend they have a solution for the man who is as drunk as a goat.